Welcome to Discovering. It's October, and in the UP, when you say you're going hunting, it could be for anything. Tonight, we're hunting goose.
Yesterday was an impressive sight. There were thousands of birds making a push south.
And we'll finish up our wood turning project. Stick around, that's all tonight, right here on Discovering.
The secret streams that flow beneath the cliffs of colored stone. Forests thick and healthy with birch and pine and oak. Surrounded by the greatest lakes this world has ever known. The black bear's awesome presence as he roams the hills and fields. Call of the timber wolf, the loon's lonesome trill. The eagle soaring high above, the trout lies deep and still. These are what I treasure, the only way I measure feelings that I have for this fine land. There is so much to discover when you're a long-time lover of northern Michigan.
If you're a UP sportsman, this is the time of year where it all comes together. You can fish and hunt for just about every species found on the peninsula. The fish are biting, the deer are moving, and the birds are flying. You just need to get up in the morning and decide where you want to be when the sun comes up. I hooked up with a group of friends from the Stevenson area who decided they wanted to be in a cornfield waiting for geese to show up.
Yeah, it's a rainy fall UP morning. Right now we're setting decoys for the wind we have. It's a cut cornfield. It's a small field, but the birds have been hitting it pretty heavy. So we've got a V spread, about 4 dozen decoys out, and we're trying to hide layout blinds. So we need to brush them in with vegetation from the field. Yesterday was an impressive sight. There were thousands of birds making a push south, and then today we're met with a south wind that's going to hold the birds in their place. So yeah, we've got 3 callers today, pretty good callers. The birds have been coming off the bay to this small cut cornfield. We're set up so that they come to the west side of the field, away from any roads, and try to stay away from any field edges. We're just going to sit back and wait for the birds. This is the reason we come out an hour and a half early to brush in our blinds and set our decoys, is we can hurry up and wait. the majority of what we're doing every night is driving around finding where these birds are coming from and where they're going. And we knew these birds were coming from a small inland lake. Had this field in mind the whole time. They were cupped out from the time they met the horizon line. We could see them.
The Canada goose is the most widely distributed goose in North America. It's found in every contiguous U.S. state and Canadian province at one time of the year or another, and occupies a broad range of habitats including areas of human habitation. At around 2 years of age, geese form lifelong pair bonds. Offspring remain with their parents throughout the first year of life. Current population estimates range from 3 million to as many as 8 million individual birds. They of course are known for their seasonal migrations, which take place from September through the beginning of November. Ducks and geese follow ancient pathways from their breeding grounds to wintering areas. Each fall, millions of waterfowl migrate south to warmer regions in search of food and habitat. It's not certain how ducks and geese navigate during migration, but scientists believe the birds take cues from the position of the sun, moon, and stars, along with geographic landmarks like rivers and mountains and magnetic fields invisible to the human eye. The migration corridors followed by ducks and geese are known as flyways. For management purposes, North America is divided into 4 flyways: the Atlantic, Mississippi, Central, and Pacific. The Mississippi Flyway is the most heavily used, with about 40% of all North American migrating waterfowl and shorebirds using this route. Each year, more than 325 bird species make the round trip from their breeding grounds in Canada and the northern U.S. to their wintering grounds along the Gulf of Mexico region. This route offers a clear path with no mountains over its entire extent, as well as good sources of water, food, and cover. These stop-off points offer great hunting opportunities. Goose hunting season in the Upper Peninsula begins with the early season on September 1st and runs through December 16th, offering plenty of opportunity to waterfowlers. Geese typically roost on water and head for nearby farm fields to feed late in the afternoon. As we move into fall, you'll find them in oat fields, wheat fields, and barley fields in search of spent grain. As we move later into fall and the corn comes off, they congregate there for dinner. They will often return to these same fields in the morning for breakfast, so when the sun comes up, that's the place to be.
That's all right. That's it. That's it.
Shoot him.
Just had one of our best mornings of goose hunting we could have ever ordered up. And as you can see, we have a good group of guys to hunt with. So we have a lot of fun together. I just got into this about a year with these guys. I just show up and it's a fully guided goose hunt with these guys. So they said, have a gun and have a layout blind and you're welcome. And they do the calling, they pull the trailers. As you can see, it's quite an operation. But
There's a left. There's a couple more.
Didn't take a whole lot of calling and didn't take a whole lot of decoys. There's still a big push of geese, as you probably saw after we were breaking down. Those are probably coming off the bay, and there's more shooting from those ones, so we're excited.
we used to love bow hunting up here, and now this is starting to kind of take it over until the rut starts, and it's just a fun fill-in time with your buddies. You get up in the morning, have a cup of coffee, and sit in sleeping bags in the ground pretty much and wait for the geese to fly in. So no shortage of action either, and you get to harass everyone when they miss a shot or two, because we all kind of know who's shooting at which group of birds and talk it out and make a game plan. So it's a lot of fun, and it's definitely a new way to enjoy the UP that I'm starting to learn. This time of year, you had to pick your poison on fun. You could walleye fish, you can fish in the streams, you can duck hunt, goose hunt, anything. Deer hunting right now, bear. So this is what we're doing today, and it's just starting to get good. The flight patterns are flying through, and it's going to be good for a while.
Last week we visited the shop of Daryl Thurston for a look at the art of wood turning. We started out with the birch burl.
Well, Brian, you brought this birch barrel, so we're going to cut her open and see if we can get anything out of this. All right, let's take her inside, and we'll mount her up and put her on the lathe.
Watched it turn into a bowl.
What I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to work that edge off and try to get this thing in balance.
Get sealed up and put on the shelf to dry. Bowl number 2 also got its start from a burl. Got some fine tuning on the lathe.
Pretty close.
And was ready for the next stage of the process, sanding.
But you can see all the character in that piece of wood. And then again, that's the other reason why I love doing burls, is because they come out with so much character.
Today we'll get to see the results of all the turning, drying, sanding, and finishing as this burl turns into a work of art.
We're going to start sanding. And sanding, to me, is one of the most important parts of this whole procedure. Simply because if you put a piece out into the public, or a person wants to buy a piece, and it's got a bunch of scratches in it, to me that's not a finished piece. So I always take everything down to at least 600 grit, where I can turn this in an hour. It'll probably take me 2 to 3 hours to put a finish on it, to sand it all, to keep all the scratches and everything out of it. Because I'm more meticulous. I don't like scratches in my pieces. And I guess that's why I love these burls. I mean, there's so much character in it. If you get a bunch of character in a piece and you got a bunch of scratches in it, to me it's not a very nice piece. That's why I spend so much time sanding. Well, at least we're up to 220 now. There's hundreds of different ways to sand. You can use sanding pads on drill motors. You can use, emery like I do. To me, it doesn't make any difference how you sand it. It's a finish for me. It might take me more time to sand, with the emery and stuff, but by hand. But I like the finish, so that's the way I do it. But there's hundreds of different ways to sand them. As long as the end result is the same, it doesn't matter. What I try to do here is I try to get my outside finished 100%, right down to 600, before I start to work on the inside. Then I never have to go back to the outside edge. So I spend, as much time as I need to on both sides in order to keep it from having any cracks or scratches. Pretty good sized void in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill that with sawdust and super glue it. And I can work it right into that hole. I'll put a little bit of super glue in there to hold that all in, and then I'll finish filling it. This is just a real thin CA glue. I'll let that soak in. I'll get some more. Now I could fill this with turquoise, or I could fill it with coffee grounds, but I think this piece has enough character in it with all the eyes that I don't need to enhance it with turquoise. Now we'll let that dry down, and there's a crack right here, so I'm just going to glue that crack while I'm at it. Bark inclusions, I was going to glue those in so that they don't come out. And all this glue, these glue marks that show up in the wood, as you sand them, most all these will dissipate. So now we'll go inside and we'll do the same thing in here. This piece of bark inclusion here, so I'm just going to fill that right in. This is that big piece on the outside that we're filling. Then we put an accelerator on it so it doesn't fly all over the place. It cures it almost instantly. See how it just cured that up? You can see it smoking right there. It's curing it. So we'll do the inside. So I got a few more little voids here I want to fill in. I got this void right here, so I'm going to take this sawdust, work it right into that hole, hit it with a little more CA glue. We're getting this mounted onto the jumbo jaws so that we can remove the base. I'm going to go ahead and bring the tailstock up for a short here. I still need a little bit of support here, so I'm just going to lightly bring that tailstock in, and we're going to remove this base and sand it off, then we're finished. Sometimes you'll get just a touch of tear out. So I just saw the knob off, and then I'll finish it off with a gouge. And then we can sand it. And what I'm doing here is I'm actually contouring this just a little bit so it gives it a hollow form underneath it. Okay, we'll finish this off here. There, now we'll just sand that off and we're finished. We'll take it out and we'll put a finish on it, and let's see what it looks like when we put a finish to it. Various types of finishes, you know, there's the lacquers, there's the polyurethanes, there's the wipe on polys, there's the walnut oil, there's a butcher block oil, there's a salad bowl oil. I normally use polyurethane and a naphtha mixture, which thins it out real well, so I get a lot of good penetration of the polyurethane into the wood itself. It's just a bandsaw, and it's perfect for making a little stand. That way the finished piece doesn't touch on the counter. This is a polyurethane and naphtha mixture here. This is where it comes alive. Look at that. It just impresses me every time this happens. I've seen it hundreds of times, but just look how that piece of wood just come alive. See what it looks like on the outside there. And the first couple of coats, it'll really suck this in. And that's why I thin it out the way I do, so that it penetrates the wood. Now we'll let it sit for a minute or so, and then we'll just take and wipe the excess off. Close enough. There you are. Look how that thing come alive. Now that's just the first coat. I mean, as you put more coats on it, it just gets, you can go either a semi-sheen, a sheen, whatever your preference is. It's entirely up to whatever the person wants to do.
Well, that's it for this week. Be sure to check out 906outdoors.com, where you'll find the 906 Fishing Report, TV6 weather, shopping, and more. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next week, right here on Upper Michigan's very own Discovering.